Right, okay, well, I'm Ziggi, also known as Chris Paul. I used to be Chris Paul, also known as Ziggi. Now, a lot of you may have seen this presentation or heard this story before, so please forgive me if I'm repeating, but hopefully there's enough bells and whistles to keep everyone amused. The story is basically of two types of money. These terms are coined by Steve. Direct development versus traditional development. The story goes that we developed a package twice, effectively, using two different methods. So, firstly, I have to have a disclaimer. I'm here, although I work for the Childcare Company, what I say here is me talking, not any aspect of the Childcare Company. I just want to make it absolutely clear, I may say some things which should not be attributed to the Childcare Company. Why the disclaimer? Well, as I say, I'm in a unique position in developed a package, a very similar package, twice, using similar approaches. Between the development of the first one and the second one, a lot of lawyers got paid a lot of money, and there was some kind of out-of-court agreement which I don't want to affect in any way. But I'm going to be careful. And if I'm not careful, I've got this virtual lawyer here who's going to warn me if I get out of line or if I get close to problems causing myself problems. Hopefully that'll work. So in the beginning there were two people, Chris and Sally Eaton. Now they ran a series of schools and nurseries. And when they sold those off, they decided they wanted to help the state of childcare and nursery in the country. So they wanted to set up a training system for nursery practitioners, nursery teachers. They knew all about big training. They believed IT could help, but they knew very little about IT. They didn't know how it could be done. They just felt that there should be an IT solution out there. They came up with something called blended learning, which is kind of distance learning or e-learning, but does involve a lot of communication with an assessor. So the assessor will be in constant communication with the person doing the training in the nursery. But the nursery person can then upload work onto the system. They can communicate via Skype or some other kind of method. Yeah. So in December 2006, they started the new business, and they said they needed a partner, somebody who could help them, because, as I say, they didn't know much about IT, and they also wanted somebody good name in the industry. So they chose a partner. That's anyway, it shouldn't be there. They chose a partner to help them with this, and so they effectively created a parent company. Lots of shares and money changed hands. There were a group of people in Kent who had a company, and the Eatons started up their place in Lane. They used a package that they brought in from an outside company, another company that was producing e-learning too. So I'm going to call this company XX Systems. It's not their real name, but they. I don't want to, I'll explain why I don't want to talk about them later. They wanted tailored and they wanted used. They knew what they wanted. They wanted something colourful, bright. They wanted a computer system that didn't look like a computer system. This is how they always described it to me. Challenging, but, well, we're APLers, we can do the impossible. Development was going very slowly. And XX Systems were very busy. They had a larger client who constituted most of their business. So every time they rang up and wanted us to change here, this sort out there, it was always, well, I'm sorry, big company has asked us to do this, our program's all tied up on that, we'll get round to it. And then of course it kept getting put back and back and back. It's part of the problem. And to be fair to XX Systems, anybody would make that business decision. Now, you can't argue at all. We were small, tiny, they had a big bulk of money coming elsewhere. They wanted to help, but you've got to supply your stuff to your major client. Things were going slow. So I came into the company. Now I was an old, I'd worked for them before when they had schools and I'd supported their school systems. So they asked me to come in and try and help things move along. So June 2007, I came into business. And we had to build a learning program ourselves, the lessons that go into it. So the work being uploaded to an e-portfolio system, that was pulled in from XX Systems. The learning program, lessons, videos and that, explaining the details of the course and helping the nursery teachers actually learn more about looking after children. That was something we read ourselves in a series of pages. And it was done using ASP.NET, Visual Basic. It had an SQL Server database, and there were lots of Flash video programs and stuff like that. Now, at the time, I'd been out of APL for about 8 years, and this seemed like the logical choice because the system itself didn't strike me, or anyone for that matter, as a traditional APL system. There was no heavy mathematics, there was no complicated diagonal transposes. It was just really just a series of pages that run up on the screen. So the plus sides, by January 2008, we had people on the system. We had a major chain about to sign up. The learning-based team was working really well, and the money had started to come in. On the downside, we still had problems with access systems because they were perpetually being called upon by this other client. We had problems getting code released because I had to send the code and everything that I wanted to put into the system down to Ruby in Kent so that they can load it onto their server. I can do it directly. I have been told since this is not true, but it is true. That's what happened. And also I could sense a certain level of friction growing between people in Kent and people in Langley. March the 7th, 2008, very specific day. I'll never forget that day. There was a hostile takeover. All right? An aggressive take of control. Nasty people came to our company away. Okay. It doesn't matter how you look at it. People may say it was a sort of reconsolidation, or sort of a business improvement, whatever. But on the 8th of March, everybody in Kent had a job, and everybody in Langley was under review. Sure enough, we went through all the processes and talks and whatever, but we were pretty much left out of goal. Now, that is how it was. And as a result, the team, well, a bit miffed, to say the least. We had a team though, and we stuck together as a group. There were about 6 or 7, 8 of us, sat around the table. We thought, look, we're going to fight back. We're going to do something. We're not just going to take this line down. So we knew we had the idea. We knew we had a system that would work. We had the motivation. Oh boy, we had the motivation. But we had no time, no resources. And all the money that had been available to the unions had been used up developing the package the first time. Which, as I say, had taken about a year. So we had to do something about it. Now, first of all, I thought we tried to go back to access systems, but they were still too busy. Development was going slow. Development would be far too slow, and we had to come up with another way of doing it. Somebody suddenly said, we could do the whole thing in Dyalog APL. Yeah, who did? Yeah. I didn't know Dyalog APL that well. I was an old shop man. I didn't know about the .NET aspects of Dyalog. Yet I felt that we could do it. And we could do the whole thing. We could build the part that we brought in. We could do the lessons. We could build the whole thing again. And I'd say it's not a traditional APL system, but we had to get it done fast. We had to get to market very quickly because these other guys, they had a product already there. They were making ground. we had to come back at them very quickly. So we launched officially in May 2008. First learners on the system, using the system, developed an APL by moi on June. But we had completers completing the system in December last year, and we had gained the contracts for the major chains nursery. I think it was 3 of the big 5 now. And we managed to get those chains right from under the noses of those people going in front. About 400 learners now registered on the system. In November, we won an award for Supplier Innovator of the Year at the Nursery Management Day Awards. Yes?
Can you stand 3 feet further to your left?
Yeah.
We can see you there.
No.
Too far.
No. 2 feet.
Why do I feel like somebody's lining up shot?
See that red dot?
APL gave us the edge. Now, of course, we managed to get the thing into production really quickly. We could adapt to changing ideas. As I said, these people weren't very IT literate, and they still, to be honest, aren't. But they knew what they wanted once they saw it. And the whole thing you were saying about before, how do we do this, and come up with ideas. I threw up a screen on the base of the system. It logs and shows everyone's logged onto the system. First time I showed that to Sally, I could see it in the glazing of, why do we need this? Why do we have to see other people on the system? As time progressed, and the people that provided the funding for the training came in and wanted to make sure that we were providing the training in a particular way, suddenly she saw the value of this thing. And it's now up on the wall in our office and upstairs all the time. She comes and introduces everyone that comes on the business. So this is our virtual classroom. So the package sort of lent itself to taking their ideas further than they originally thought. We now have statistical data coming out of it, which turned out to be vital when some funding people came in to make sure that we were providing funding to the learners in the correct way. Because generally those organisations were used to class-based systems. They used to set up like this. Where people walk through the door, you register, sit in the chair, and we can show they can see a register at the end of the week, saying, like, these people were sitting, learning at this time, therefore we'll pay for their funding. As we were doing it online, we needed logs and things to show people when people connected to the system, show them how far through the course they were, and all these other statistical data. We also produced stuff like this. Now, this is shows over the course of a day, on average, when people log onto the system. As you can see, because one of the advantages of the eBay system is that people can do it when they want. You don't have to have a class. They can start the course whenever they want to, and they can do it. And you can see here that there's a peak right in mid-evening, which is a lot of these nursery people have young children, so they can get them home, they can put them to bed, and then they can sit down on the PC and start doing a bit of work. And so we still see a peak here. I'll break this down by weekdays and so on and so forth. This information, of course, is vital. It wasn't something that was in the old system, because this is the stuff where APL really comes into its own. I don't need to tell you more. This shows you the load, maximum load, over the course of the month of May this year, where we had a peak of 44 learners on the system at one time. I think that was about the last week. Again, information that the other system, the older system, just didn't have. So, key ways of work, speed of development, we could adapt, we could add the additional tools, and we could show the funding people what was going on. And the company was allowed to grow. We now have 35 people. From the start of 7 a year ago, we now have 35 people in the company, most of which are assessors. Online, because they go online to see the work that's being done by the learners all the time. And the company continued to grow. We did a forecast on the number of learners we were taking on and projected it here. Now, funding works in this way. We go to a funding source like Train to Gain or the LSC or local councils. They provide the money for us to train the learner, and then they come back to us. So the learner doesn't actually have to pay anything. But then there was another crisis. This letter here, on the 7th of April this year, and it's from the LSC, saying paraphrasing, we got our numbers wrong, we're out of money. There will be no more funding this year. So all projections were suddenly dead. This is a web page showing Chris Banks announced his resignation over the issue, making somebody in government resigning when they get something terribly wrong. Anyway, so we had to adapt again. And we went back to the system, so they said, right, well, we need to get other sources of money. So we started adding more courses to the system, which was slightly different. But because we're an APL, we could move fast. We can move faster than anybody else. We managed to get apprenticeships training on the system. We managed to get short courses for certain people in just wishing to do an element of the entire course, and Common Core and AC. So we were able to move and change and adapt again, which we wouldn't have been able to do if we had stayed with the system ourselves. If we'd gone back to our system and said, oh gosh, we need to do these extra courses, we need all these extra lines, we need these extra buttons. But chances are they wouldn't have got it. And chances are we'd be in big financial trouble now because all our forecasts and the rate that we employed people would have managed to can't stop. There are class-based trainers who will say that this situation is going to force the money. And it was quite a heated meeting, I understand. But we thought, actually, we're okay. So, the conclusion is, my conclusions from this are, that because we picked APL, one, we were able to get to market and get our product out. Because we had APL, we were still going. And so, when you look at a system, or talk about systems which you wouldn't necessarily think of as an APL application, no, what's a mouse or whatever, it's always good to just look at it because of all the aspects and all the extra information. Okay, now I'll go through that a little faster. Oh yes, I'm always asked at this stage, what about that other group? Well, as I say, well, I have heard some things, but it is purely hearsay and gossip. So ask me later, buy me a pint, and we'll all have a good laugh at their expense. So, what I thought at this stage, if I got through, I'm going to miles away.
Oh, you're fine, yeah.
I thought I might just show you a quick demonstration of the system itself, if we can. Now, there are parallels. I have a version of it on this machine. We have on the server, we have a test version, we have a demonstration version, and we have a live version. We do the demonstration version separate to the live version. One, because data protection act, it shows learners up the whole time, and we don't want to give away details of somebody's course. So we have a test system, a demo system, purely for demonstrations like this and the same. That's because it's been sitting there for too long. There's a Dyalog APL workspace that exists in background the whole time. And when people log onto the system, it's there, it's live, and information can be transferred between the two. The demo system, of course, is not used as much as the live system. So, obviously, the workspace shut down, and I just need to go to the first page again, and it all kicks off again. It has a timeout of about an hour. Or maybe it's just going to be, oh, hang on, I lost my connection here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give us a moment. That will explain it. Thanks. Okay. Tell us of the demonstration.
I think you still have no...
Yeah, you didn't finish your connection, didn't you?
That's being issued by the server.
Oh,
That message there is a server, and you need to actually read what it says. Okay.
I don't have time for reading. Well, I'm really taking my life in my hands now. Hey, give me a name. Yeah, that's a test, but it's good live database.
Test.nursery.
Sorry?
Using a password test.nursery.
Right, let's try a third approach. Right. I don't know why the demo system's not working. The live system is clearly working. I must prove that because I can link to it from here and just make sure that 16 people currently on the live system.
So is this connected to your own machine?
This is connected to the local version, so got to be a little bit careful here. Now, say, a system that looks like a computer system that doesn't look like a computer system. We have these major big icons around. When something's spinning, it means there's something new. In this case, there's a new news item on the system. Have a quick look at that. We can see 2 items are spinning there. There's a learn of the month. We have a learn of the month, so we publish their pictures and say, well done. If I click on those 2 items, I'm now seeing them. Go back to the home page, the news icon stops spinning. It's just a methodology we have for making sure that people can see very quickly when there's something new. The main aspect of the system is the My Portfolio. And these are all controlled from an inside APL. So the page itself is thrown up by ASP.NET. And then, this is a tree view, which is populated from APL. This information here is calculated how far this particular learner has got from the system. That's all in APL. There's an estimated completion date, so she keeps going at the same rate, so that calculates forward. And then all these icons are also linked to buttons inside the APL tab. If I click on any one of the, just like that, it expands out again, control from APL. Then we have here are individual elements of the course that they're on. This icon here indicates that they've uploaded work. If they've uploaded work and the assessor hasn't seen it, it spins. Once the assessor has seen it and marked it, the assessor puts a comment in here. And that spins until the learner comes in, has a look at the comment, acknowledges it, and see, if somebody could tell me how I can go back and do a refresh at the same time, please tell me, because I've been fighting with that one for months. And this is why, because the learner has then got in, seen it, acknowledged it, the information's there. They press the back button, it takes them back to the previous view, which seems to be stored in memory. So it spins until I do a refresh. Anybody know?
Use Ajax.
Sorry?
Use Ajax.
Yeah. Ajax. I'll talk to you later. But let's say also we have the lessons in the system itself. So, the learner can go in and see a lesson about those pieces of information. And they tend to be in this kind of structure. But that's just a template page. It has an index knowing where they clicked on the screen. So that's taken them through to a template page, and you see at the top with a lesson reference there. APL gets that lesson reference and says, oh right, I know, go to the file, pull up the information. It decides which icons appear now on the screen. It puts the words around as well, puts the time in the middle, and also tells me what page I can go to if I click on any of these icons. I may not have it on. I may have the video downloaded on that machine. There's a bit of video there. This lady's telling the learner about this particular element of the course. There's a breakdown here saying what she's talking about. If the learner wishes to get the full text of what she says, you can get it from that, press that button there, and it gives a PDF of exactly what she's saying. The learner can navigate through the course or around the splat by using these arrows, or go back to the splat. Again, all controlled from within inside APL. Each of these pages is a template. There's about, how many templates are we up to here? About 15?
15 or 16.
Right. And then, upon those templates, there's now 750 pages in the course, in various courses. This is much better than that. What else can I show you? I won't show you the mail system because I've been working on that recently and knowing my luck. You'll also spot that the second bar, if I click on any one of these elements, the second bar now changes to say how far through the course, how far through that particular element the learner has gone. Again, calculated from APL. Every action the learner does is called in a log file, an audit file. That audit file is downloaded, and then Chris Hogan has written a latest statistics package which allows us to analyse exactly what learners have been doing, how far through the course they've gone. And we can get all that statistical information which we can then provide to the LSC when they're getting sent money, or any of the other funding organisations. I think I'm off you there. Is there any questions? Yeah.
You're talking about providing information to the funding providers.
Yes.
Have you thought about approaching any of the actual education analysis researchers of how people are using the system?
No. But a very interesting idea. I'll speak to someone about it.
Because essentially you'd be allowing access to the same information but for a completely different source and purpose.
Yes. Very interesting idea. So, any other questions?
Just the question you asked before about, could you repeat that question about going back and refreshing?
This back arrow here.
That back arrow there, what does that do?
This one.
Yeah.
Basically, it does go to history, or history.go, brackets, whatever, and it counts the number of pages. Because every time I refresh the screen, it creates a new instance of the thing. So, internally, I've got a mechanism which counts the number of times it does that, and then throws it, when you click the back button, it throws you to the previous different type screen.
Yeah, exactly how does it do that? You're calling an ASP.NET method to...
I am calling using an ASP.NET method, but I'm populating the button with an ASP call in APL.
Are you saying this doesn't work on Firefox?
I think that does work on Firefox.
Is the problem that you're going back to a cache page, so it's showing you the
Yes.
previous state of information?
So what I want to do is go back and tell it to refresh.
What you may need to do is make sure that that page has an HTTP expiry time, which is 0 seconds, for example, so that the browser they realise it's not allowed to cache it.
An HTTP expired.
Yeah.
I would look for an HTTP request, which allows you to update the DOM of the object. So it would look like an application, not like a web page.
That's the
That is
online-
Ajax, basically.
That's the
from the body.
Somebody scribble that down.
Ajax is a complete rendering here.
Okay.
And that would mean switching to a completely new technology.
Yes, yes.
Should be easy.
Yeah.
Who designed this? It has a very nice look to it.
Well, there's a mixture of a group of us. There's a girl in the daughter of the Eatons, actually, Ashley Eaton, who is very good at graphical design. And they wanted something big and chunky. At first I produced a little tree structure which looked very much like an explorer, sort of kind of base there. And I was told, go away and make it big and chunky. So I did the colours. We worked together to find the icons for the Little Orange Men and on our symbols. But it had, yes, the insistence was in big, colourful, big buttons, easy to use. The nursery people. I won't tell my little story about that. They don't like them now, which goes to the lesson. We once on the phone to one of the learners, and we said, click on, get this, click on the man on the trampoline. He said, I can't see a man on the trampoline. And so we're puzzling, scratching the head, so what about next to the pen? Oh yeah. So well, that's a man on a trampoline. So no, it's a man above a trampoline. I suppose a perception thing.
Can you tell us a bit about the hardware and the scalability of this? Because if you're 10 times bigger, you start.
Well, the system is coping very well, as I say. We've got about 400 nodes, and at a time it's been growing steadily. So, as I say, the peak load we've had is 44. There doesn't seem to be any sort of depreciation of.
What do you run it on?
There's a server we have rented on the server farm.
Right.
And it's on our box, which we spec'd out. I forget exactly the spec. No, I think it's a standard sort of processor. It's called a quad-core processor. And of course we wanted to use them because we can get an asynchronous line into our offices. And we wanted them to do all the backups and everything like that. So it sits on their internet base with a big fast gigabit backbone, and we just push stuff up to it. Let's say quad-core. It's using. I keep checking to see if we're using it in this space, and we're not scratching it. We're not really overworking the processor. And if we do, then I need more stuff to make sure that I can use more than one processor at a time. As far as answering that question yesterday. I reckon we can get a couple of hundred people simultaneously on the system before it starts to depreciate. And Stephen asked that question of Chris Eaton, and so what if you have a few thousand people on? And I said, well, we can get another server and say split people off. People do, say, level 3 course, people do level 2 course onto different machines.
Yeah.
And I said to Chris, can we afford that? He said, well, if you get 1,000 more levels, of course we can. But yeah, scalability, I was nervous about initially, because as I said, I hadn't got much experience with this sort of stuff. So I threw it up there and thought, well, now this stress test, let's chuck stuff at it. Couldn't pass it. So if it gets to that stage, we just buy another box. And then we'll have our apprenticeships on something else. Yeah?
What is serving the SP pages, and how many copies of the workspace have you got? Is it one per session?
There's 4 copies of the workspace, 3 copies of the workspace running. Well, at the moment it looks like there's 2 copies of the workspace running. I don't know what the demo system's for though. And that workspace, yeah, it has maintains variables and everything, so when people log in they connect to that workspace. So there's 1 workspace for each of the live demo and test.
What's serving the pages?
It's the painters. I don't really understand the question. It's IIS, yeah. Any other questions? Or I'll move too fast. I did put some technical notes up on this at Christmas time. I did put a presentation down, but I was told to take it down because it said nasty things about some people.
And some of the other applications you were talking about around Christmas, you know, the documentation for procedures, which you were going to offer as a web-based service as well. You know.
That's still in the pipeline. We're waiting to really make sure that we've got enough people who will actually sign up to that sort of system. We did. I've got to be careful what I say about that because that was also involved in all the shenanigans with the other group. But one of the nursery chains that we got on board was Ascot Nurseries. And they've looked at this and thought it's fantastic. And then they come back to us and said, we want a system to do various things. We like it in your style. Can you write it for us? So sometime soon I'll be writing a system in APL for them. Spreading the word. Any other questions?